Nobody warns you about this part. You do the work. You save, you invest, you make better decisions than everyone around you told you were possible. And then one day you look at your account and realize something has actually changed. The number is real. The progress is undeniable. And instead of feeling proud, you feel strange, guilty, disconnected, like you are becoming someone your old friends do not quite recognize, like you are betraying something or someone by getting ahead. Nobody made a video about this. Nobody put it in the personal finance books, but it happens to almost everyone who genuinely starts building wealth from nothing. And if nobody talks about it, it can quietly destroy everything you built. Let me tell you about Zara. Zara grew up in a household where money was always tight. Not desperate, but tight. Her parents worked hard. There was always enough, but just enough. Holidays were modest. The conversation about money in her house was always about survival, bills, rent, making it stretch. She absorbed all of it without realizing. Money was stressful. Rich people were different from her family. Wanting more felt greedy. Talking about money felt uncomfortable. By 28, Zara had a good job, had read every finance book she could find, started investing consistently, and was genuinely on a path that her 18-year-old self would not have believed. And then the strange things started happening. Her friends would suggest a restaurant, and she could afford it easily. But she pretended she could not, because saying yes felt like showing off, like she was separating herself from them. Her mom mentioned struggling with a bill, and Zara felt a rush of guilt so intense she almost offered her entire savings account on the spot. Not because it was the right move, but because having more than her parents felt wrong in a way she could not explain. A colleague at work found out she had an investment account, and Zara actually felt embarrassed. Embarrassed for doing the responsible thing. She started making smaller decisions than she could afford, staying quiet about her progress, hiding her financial wins the way other people hide their failures. And here is the most damaging part. She started sabotaging, not consciously, but she would find reasons to spend money she did not need to spend. A generous round of drinks for everyone. An impulsive purchase that felt like relief. Lending money she knew she would not get back. Every time her account grew past a certain level, something inside her found a way to bring it back down. She did not have a money problem anymore. She had an identity problem, and that identity problem was quietly undoing every financial decision she had worked so hard to make right. What Zara was experiencing has a name in psychology. It is called cognitive dissonance. And in the context of money, it works like this. From childhood, we build a story about who we are. Part of that story includes our relationship with money. For many people, especially people who grew up without much, that story contains beliefs that feel like truth, but are actually just things we absorbed from our environment. Beliefs like, wealthy people are greedy. Money changes people. We are not the kind of family that has a lot. Wanting more means you are not grateful for what you have. Talking about money is vulgar or embarrassing. These beliefs sit deep. They feel like values, they feel like identity, and then you start building wealth. And suddenly, the person you are becoming on the outside does not match the story you have been telling yourself on the inside. That gap between who you were and who you are becoming creates friction, discomfort, anxiety, and the brain, which hates discomfort, looks for ways to close the gap. Sometimes it closes the gap by growing into the new identity, by updating the story. But more often, especially without awareness, it closes the gap by pulling the outside back toward the inside, by sabotaging the progress until the external reality matches the internal belief. You shrink your account down to a level that feels familiar, that feels like you. Because on some level, having nothing felt safer than having something and losing the people who knew you when you had nothing. This is not weakness. This is not stupidity. This is what happens when the financial work outpaces the inner work. Think of it like this. Imagine you have worn the same size clothes your entire adult life. and then you lose a significant amount of weight. The new clothes fit. They look better. By every objective measure, they are right for where you are now, but every time you pass a mirror, something feels off. Something feels like it is not quite you. And you find yourself reaching for the old clothes, the ones that are too big, because they feel like home. The old financial identity is the too big clothes. It does not fit anymore, but it is familiar. And familiar feels safe even when it is no longer serving you. Let me show you what this identity friction actually costs, because it is more than emotional discomfort. Zara's sabotage pattern was real, and it had a real price. Every time her TFSA crossed $15,000, she found a way to drain it back toward $8,000 to $10,000. It happened 3 times in 4 years. Let us put numbers to that. If Zara had simply left her account alone, kept contributing, stopped the sabotage, and her account had stayed invested and growing at a modest 8% annual return, the difference between where she was at 32 and where she could have been is roughly $40,000 to $60,000 in lost compounding over the following decade. Not because the market failed her, not because she chose bad investments, because her internal story about who she was allowed to be kept overriding her external financial decisions. And beyond the numbers, look at what the sabotage cost her in energy. Every time she picked up a dinner bill she could not really afford, she felt relief for about 40 minutes and then low-grade resentment for 3 days. Every time she lent money she never got back, she felt generous for a week and then quietly bitter for months. Every time she downplayed her progress to fit in, she felt accepted in the moment and then deeply lonely afterward, because the acceptance was for a version of herself she was trying to leave behind. The identity crisis was costing her money, energy, relationships, and the very progress she was working so hard to protect. And she had no framework for any of it because nobody talks about this part. So, what do you actually do when you start feeling this friction? Here are 5 things that genuinely help. Step 1, name what is happening. This sounds almost too simple, but it is the most important step of all. The moment you notice yourself sabotaging, making a financial decision that does not align with your goals, downplaying your progress, feeling inexplicable guilt about your own money, stop and name it. Say it out loud if you can. This is identity friction. My old story is pulling at me. Naming it separates you from it. It moves from something happening to you into something you are observing. And things you can observe, you can make decisions about. Step 2, audit the beliefs you inherited. Sit down with a piece of paper and write out every money belief you absorbed growing up. Rich people are fill in the blank. In our family, money means fill in the blank. Wanting more than I have means fill in the blank. Look at each belief and ask one honest question. Is this actually true? Or is this a story I absorbed from people who are also working through their own relationship with money? Most of what you find will not hold up to honest examination, but you cannot release a belief you have never consciously identified. Step 3, find a new community or at least one person. One of the reasons the identity crisis hits so hard is isolation. Your old community does not fully understand where you are going, and you do not yet have a community of people who are on the same path. Find one person, one friend, one online community, one mentor who is further along the path than you and who came from a similar background. You need proof that the person you are becoming is real and possible and not a betrayal of where you came from. You need to see it in someone else before you can fully own it in yourself. Step 4, redefine what loyalty to your roots actually means. This is the one that changes everything for people who grew up without much. You were taught, probably not in words but in feeling, that staying the same as the people you love is how you show you have not forgotten them. That getting ahead means leaving them behind. That belief is wrong, and it is costing you. The most powerful thing you can do for your family, for your community, for the next generation that comes after you is to build something real and show them it is possible. You are not betraying your roots by growing. You are watering them. Step 5. Create a values-based spending plan that includes generosity deliberately. One of the reasons people sabotage is that they have no structured outlet for the generosity and community connection that feel essential to their identity. Build it in intentionally. Decide, in a calm moment, not a reactive one, what percentage of your income goes to helping people you love. Maybe 5%? Maybe 10? Put it in the plan. When someone needs help and it falls within that boundary, give freely and without guilt. It is already allocated. When something falls outside that boundary, you have a framework to say no without feeling like you are being selfish. Generosity without a plan becomes sabotage. Generosity with a plan becomes a value you live with intention. Here is the reframe I want you to carry out of this video. Building wealth when you did not grow up with it is not just a financial journey. It is a personal transformation, and every transformation involves grief. You will grieve the version of yourself that struggled, because that version was known. That version was understood by everyone around you. That version fit the story. You will grieve certain relationships that cannot make the journey with you. Not because you stopped loving those people, but because some people in your life needed you to stay stuck in order to feel comfortable around you. And you will grieve the simple clarity of not having options. Because when you had nothing, the decision was easy. Now you have choices. And choices require you to know yourself in a way that having nothing never demanded. This is not a sign that something is wrong. This is the sign that something is working. The discomfort is not the problem. The discomfort is the growth. Every person who built something real from nothing went through a version of what Zara went through. The ones who made it to the other side are not the ones who felt no friction. They are the ones who felt it, named it, and kept building anyway. You started this financial journey because you wanted something different. Different from the stress you grew up watching. Different from the tightness. The just enough. The conversations at the kitchen table about bills that never quite added up. You wanted different. And now that different is starting to arrive, it feels strange. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like you are leaving something behind. You are not. You are carrying everyone who ever believed in you forward with you. Every smart decision you make is proof that where you came from does not have to determine where you end up. Every account that grows, every debt that disappears, every financial goal you reach, that is not you becoming someone else. That is you becoming more fully yourself, the version of yourself that was always possible. The identity crisis is real. The guilt is real. The friction is real. And none of it means you should stop. It means you are getting close to something important. Keep going. The person on the other side of this discomfort has been waiting for you for a long time. Drop a comment below and be honest with me. Have you ever felt this? Guilt about your own progress. Uncomfortable when things actually started going well. Like getting ahead meant leaving people behind. Tell me your story. I promise you are not alone in this. And I read every single comment. Subscribe to Nuella Invests because building wealth is only half the work. Understanding yourself well enough to keep it is the other half. And we talk about both. See you in the next one.